All right, I'm going to show you how to add a new empty product into Toolbox. So so that you can basically list out parts and pieces that you want to cut if you didn't want to have to draw them or do the solid model analyzer. This is an alternative to to that step, is adding a new empty product. The way that I like to do this, there's a few different ways that you can do it. So I'll show you a few different options, but you can do it through the library. So if I were to go to draw, and forgive me if I'm not readily under or readily going right to it because it's not something I do this way very often. So I would go to draw, and I would go to, I think it's under miscellaneous, and I think it's under here. Maybe not. There's one that just says new starter part. So this is one option where it's basically a starter part. It's just a piece, and you would right click and do that like just like you would normally and say add at a selected point, and it'll give you just this piece. I think there's another option too where it can be just an empty product. It might be under the, yeah, it might be under the starter products right there. So I just went under frameless. I went under starter product category, and then right here where it says new empty starter product, I'm going to just go and say select this to a certain point, and I'm going to click OK, and what it'll give me is just the tag. So this is just the tag. And now if I wanted to add parts and pieces to that, I could go into the edit design data, and it'll bring me here, and notice it's just blank. So I could say, you know, part one, part two, or we could just copy and paste. And then we could say, hey, I want a quantity of 10, a quantity of 5, and a quantity of 6. And then we would just put in, you know, width, length, and this can be decimal too. It doesn't have to be just, you know, straight numbers. So you can have some really crazy stuff. And the thickness is going to be based off of the material. So you can just right click on this and say change material, and let's just say this is all at a 3/4 inch MDF, and we drop it down, and then when I hit save and close, nothing is going to change in this. But if I were to nest this out or go through and create a work order, it's going to nest out these parts and pieces that I've laid out here. It's not drawing anything because nothing is in our drawing token area. If we wanted to make it draw, we could make it draw, but we'd have to add that information in. So this is what's driving a normal product. If I were to just drop in a standard base cabinet, and just say drop this in at a specific point, and I were to go to edit design data, this is just a tweak different, because it's not under the cut parts in this particular cabinet. But if I go under subassemblies, see, here's all my parts and pieces. Here's all my quantities and sizes. This is what's generating, you know, my nest from the work order. But notice here it's got XYZ coordinate points, it's got rotations, and then it's got drawing tokens. So what I've done in the past is if I'm doing something and I want to see things drawn, I would just create a new empty product, put my parts and pieces in there, and then I come in here and start, you know, stealing information from here, copy paste it to that particular spreadsheet, and it'll start to draw for me. So you know, you're basically going to a blank sheet of this so that you can create your own. So this is one method where you're doing it from the drawing perspective, and you're going down to starter products and you're just dropping in an empty starter product. The other method is to go to what is called Overdrive Pro, or basically the product viewer. If you don't see Overdrive Pro in your options, you can go to settings, and you can hit add, and then make sure it's internal command, and then you just go down to Overdrive Pro. You'll see a little icon for it. You hit apply. I've already got it, so I don't want to do that. And then when you hit OK, it'll add it to the end. Like I said, I already have it, so I'm not going to do that. So when I hit Overdrive Pro, this is the other option. And this is the way that I prefer based off of my history and what I've done with the software. I feel like this is a little bit easier to be organized in versus in the drawing. But same concept really either way. So when I make this bigger, I'm in my project, I'm in my room, and here's the two products that I've already dropped in. So here's an empty starter product, and here's the base cabinet. They're blue because they've been drawn. When I do this next one, you'll see it'll be black because it hasn't been drawn in the drawing. So from here, you could do the same thing that I just did, where you could say, hey, I want to go to frameless starter product, add a new empty starter, and it's going to just give me this as an option. And now see how it's black. Now I could go in and do the same thing here, where I populate the part name, I populate the quantity, I populate the length and the width, I select the material. Over here too, you can comment on here where it says width 1, length 1, width 2, length 2. That's where edge banding information would be. And if you just right click on that and hit change, you can add edge banding, details to that. But that's where you would do that if you were to use it from this drop down. If I didn't want to do that and I want to kind of skip that step, then I can actually just right click in this gray space and go right here, add new empty product. Okay, and there it is. So same concept, go into here. We've got everything there. I think the starter product, see how this has got length, width, height. There's just a few things here. I think the starter product might have a little bit more, maybe. Yeah, it's got just a little bit more pizzazz here, but that's about it. Everything else is just blank. Whereas the product that was here, this one door, if we go into that, we'll see everything's under the sub-assemblies, but this is all filled out. The prompts are massive, and then each one of these has their own level of detail. So essentially the starter product is just starting fresh, and then you're able to add those part sizes and cut lists right here and just have it to then just create that work order from there. So hopefully this helps. The cool thing with Overdrive Pro is once you open it, notice I didn't save anything and it still saved those two products that I entered. And if we wanted to draw these, if you were just dropping in base cabinets and upper cabinets, I found that this is a really quick way to do it because you're not having to wait for the drawing each time. You can just kind of populate each room and then you can go through the drawing process. If you go right down here to product viewer, we can see the two blue ones have been drawn. These two have not. If I wanted to draw them, I just right click and hit draw product, and it gives me the same options as it would be if I pulled it from the library. So that's it in a nutshell to add an empty product for cut listing, and if you're not doing it with the solid model analyzer. Solid model analyzer is really, it's just going to populate this information right here. So it's kind of a fast way to get something in, especially if you wanted to have orientations set up where it's rotated and set in a specific spot. It's a really awesome shortcut to basically get this all populated, and then you can go through and customize it, adding formulas and other items. So hopefully this helps. Have a great rest of your day.